You look very well, man.
Do I?
You do, honestly.
Thanks.
Now, we know nothing of your stand-up show or your theatre show, your one-man show, your solo show, but we know everything about your TV show. You're not really on to talk about your TV show. Ironically, we've seen your TV show. You haven't.
I know. I can't believe I've not seen it.
You have seen your theatre show. We haven't.
Well, there we are. We've got something in common.
It's 1-1. Let's go for the decider, Alan. What's going on? Tell us more about everything.
Oh, well, my show, the Alan Cumming is Not Acting His Age, is on next Monday and Tuesday at the Theatre Royal Drury Lane.
Right.
And it's sort of like an old-fashioned cabaret. I have a band, I sing songs, I tell stories. And it's all under the sort of umbrella theme of getting older and the pros and cons of that, and just sort of something we all share. We're all getting older. And I talk about how I feel about that. Like, I talk about, getting older, where the positive, like, you have wisdom, you have things you can pass down, but then people die, of course. You've got to deal with that, and sex, getting older and stuff like that. And then also about, things like going to the dermatologist. That's when I really feel, I'm nearly 59, so my next big birthday is 60. I'm getting on there, but I still feel like I can do everything I used to be able to do. But when I go to the dermatologist, I feel that's because there's just things that gravity stuff happens.
We have a filter. We don't have a filter on the show, but we have a filter at home, right? An actual filter for water.
Oh, I see.
And something stopped working the other day, and then we didn't know what was wrong with it. So we had no idea what was wrong with it. It's like, what is wrong with this? There's nothing to go wrong here. And so then we got this very clever man out, actually two very clever men from Brass Monkey, and they came and visited us. They said it'll be the filter, and we said, well, what could possibly be in the filter? Chris, it's your skin. It's your dead skin.
Oh.
Because the older you get, the more of it falls off.
Oh, my God. Yeah.
And they said, they looked at the amount of skin in there. It doesn't look like skin, but that's what it is.
Skin in your water filter.
Yeah. And they said, they said, judging from this, don't say it this the wrong way, but you need to put a standing order in for a new filter every 28 days.
Because that's got the zombie association as well.
What I love about the way you described this show straight off the bat is, it's about getting older. It's not about getting old. People really annoy me when they say that. I'm old. It's like,
oh, I'm too old.
But there's always somebody older, and you're annoying them.
And also, we're all doing it. Yes. This is a thing that's happened. One of the things I talk about is, why is it that we have made something that is inexorable in our lives that we're all doing? Why have we made it into the worst possible thing that can happen to us? It's a huge negative. Is it an excuse?
No, I think that's why people do it, as an excuse to
to not have to deal with it.
To not have to try or deal with things or be responsible for things.
Right, because also you can. That's also the other thing is what is age appropriateness? I mean, acting your age to me seems you're allowing other people, society, the Daily Mail, I don't know, to dictate to you what the rules are for getting older, what you should wear, how you should act, all that stuff. I think it's really fascinating, and I've realised that not acting your age, and this is the sort of the message of the show, is that you're actually you're ignoring all those voices, and you're sort of staying true to yourself and being open to the possibility of things and being curious. Just be curious.
Well, I mean, you've hit the bullseye with this show. Our demographic is our age. I'm 57, nearly 58. You're 58, nearly 59, and we're both approaching 60, and I think that's hilarious. I can't
even
believe
say it without laughing.
I can't believe it, because I'm like, that doesn't make any sense to me.
No, zero.
I feel I'm now feeling younger by the year because I'm looking after myself more.
Right.
And you and I, we've had a.
We've been around the block.
We didn't leave anything on the pitch, did we, thus far?
No.
There's nothing on the pitch thus far that's ours.
Yes.
Yeah, other people may have left stuff there.
No.
Yeah, not us.
I feel like because I'm thinking about this a lot because I've been doing all these interviews. I feel, it's not that I feel I am 33, but I feel like my life hasn't really changed since I was 33. Like, I feel I sort of have the same outlook and I do the same things mostly.
Yeah, I have more clarity than even then.
Right, yes, I have more clarity,
I have the energy that I had then now back, because I'm looking after myself a lot more. But I have more clarity than I had then because I was drunk most of the time, if I'm being really honest. Right. And also I was full of, the biochemistry of the verve of that particular part of my life.
Yeah. But I think there's a thing about when you feel, when you sort of feel, actually someone the other day, one of these interview people said, what would you say to someone's about to turn 30? And I said, gosh, well, grasshopper, all that. I said, what you need to realise is that this is it. If there's anything wrong in your life now, you've got to fix it. Because, in your 20s, you sort of think, oh, blah, 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 things will change. But there's that thing when you've got to take responsibility and make changes. And if you want to be happier, you've got to do something about it. It's not a rehearsal. This is it. And that's what I found from that age.
I agree. And Vass and I were talking about it earlier on, weren't we? To make your life 1% better, they say if you can be 1% better today than you were yesterday and 1% better tomorrow, well, it's just not that easy. But 1% of 1% better is more realistic. It's probably 1% of 1% of 1% better every day. Yeah. It's so difficult, but the 1% is like gold.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? It's like,
yes, little
my
changes.
God, if this is how 1% better feels, what's like 10%? I might not be able to cope with 10%. And it looks like if I carry on doing this, I might get to 50, 60, 70%. And just talking about it just makes me feel excited, ambitious, inspired, energetic, happy. I want to be better.
Yeah. And also the realization that you can do it. It's you that does it. That's what I think as you get older, you realize it's not like this thing with not acting your age. It's not the external forces in your life. It has to come from you.
Yeah. It's the opposite of the grumpy old man syndrome. It's the absolute polar opposite of that.
Yeah. Because that's the blaming everybody else.
Yeah. And also just, more excuses not to be any good anymore.
Yeah.
And we should be better.
Absolutely. Or at least just good and being sort of trying.
Yes, absolutely trying. 100% trying.
Yeah.
Here's the bit that nobody tells you, I think.
What?
As you get older, you think, okay, I'm going to be more experienced. Maybe I'll even get some wisdom. Who knows? And you think it's all going to be all right. It's really not, because the longer you've been here, or the longer you're here, it's like Seinfeld. He says he only spends an hour on stage because the longer he's there, the more chance the audience have of winning. And eventually, if he stays there long enough, they will win.
Right.
And life is like that.
Yes.
So as you get older, to our age now, it doesn't get any easier. You just get more used to it. You get better at it.
Yeah, you get better. You got sort of get better at managing it.
Yeah.
I think it's sort of like trauma as well. If you've had trauma in your life, like I wrote this book and I wrote another one kind of to sort of counter the reaction to the first one, because everyone was like, oh, you've had all this trauma, Alan. Oh, but it's all better now. That was what the American sort of tying it up with a neat bow was. And I sort of said, actually, it is better, but it's not gone away. You just manage trauma. Everyone has trauma, and you just get better at dealing with it, and then you just move on with your life. But it's never completely gone.
You surrender to it. Yeah. You relax and you release. Mm-hmm. You let it sit and you let it go. But you have to let it sit in order to let it go.
Yes, and it has made you who you are, so you have to acknowledge it's a part of you.
Oh, without question. Without question. You make wrong decisions. I've made loads of wrong decisions yesterday, day before, year before, decade before that, tomorrow, the next decade. And if you don't make mistakes, you're not trying hard enough.
Right.
But all the mistakes, all the what was wrong in the past gets you to exactly where you are now.
And if you're happy in that place, then you have to not regret anything.
Yeah, well, we have twins, Walt and Boo, who are 5 years old, and any mistake that I made before them would have meant on the day that they were Tash conceived, different sperms would have gone to different places. We may not have had twins at all. Yeah. So all my mistakes led to the birth of our beautiful twins. Yeah. And that is a fact. Yeah. That is an absolute not 99.9%, 100%.
Absolutely. And I'm totally with you on that. Everything comes to the place that it should be. And if it doesn't, then you've done something in the past to alter that, or you've got to change it in the future.
Yeah. I bet the show's amazing. I'm glad it's not a moaning show, not a whinging show.
No, it's a very positive show. And it's funny. I mean, I talk about people who've died. Even when I talk about death, I talk about the messages and the sort of spirit that people have left behind that you can sort of take in and keep them in the world. And then about how, and I talk about, there's one thing I talk about 3 people who've sort of left a message with me. One was my dog, one was Sean Connery, and one was Mrs. Brady from the Brady Bunch.
What a great combo.
Yes, and I tell this story about how when I met her, well, I didn't meet her, but I did this thing with her a few years ago before she died, obviously, and we got drunk, and because she'd smuggled vodka, because they didn't have hard liquor at this party, and the party was Carol Channing's 95th birthday celebration.
Wow!
And she
just hang on. Let's let that settle for a while.
and she smuggled a bottle of vodka into the party because she was worried they might not have vodka at the party. Isn't that great? Yeah. And then so we were anyway. At the end of the night, I sort of like give her a kiss and I touched her tummy, and we were going to see each other soon. And I sort of touched her. I was like, "Oh wow, Florence, you've got abs of steel." And she went, "Yes, punch me." I was like, "What?" And as she goes, punch me in the stomach, find how firm my abs are. I was like, I don't feel comfortable punching you, Florence. And she goes, punch me. And now people are starting to look round. That, like, Mrs. Brady's asking Alan Cumming to punch her in the stomach. It was just, and so I did give her a little bop, and it was like touching concrete.
Was it absolutely? Did she give you any tips on?
Well, then I said, God, look at that's amazing, Florence. She went, yeah, that's what vodka does for you.
Yeah.
She's such a, and then I told this. Well, she died soon afterwards. Nothing to do with the punch in the stomach, but I told this story.
We hope.
I know because
it's like Houdini.
I told this story at her memorial service. Her family, she told them the story too, and so then they asked me to. So I went to someone's funeral and told the story about punching them in the stomach.
That's funny, man. And so there's songs as well.
Yeah, I sing. I've got a band.
Original songs?
One original song I wrote about plastic surgery.
Oh, tell us about that.
Well, it's sort of a love song, but it's about asking someone to stop.
Right.
And it's called I Want to See You.
Yeah.
And it's about, there's lines like wrinkles mean you're running this great human race. Don't let a stranger take a knife to your face. And just like, it's all just about, can we stop and just be. And the thing in the show I talk about is that we worship at the altar of youth as a culture, but we've got to change that and realise that it's beautiful getting older too. That we have got to see beauty in not just youth. And I think as we're all just told we've got to do all these things to our face and wear these clothes and do all this. It's exhausting, and all it means is we're not appreciating anything older. Like, my role model for how I want to look is Samuel Beckett. Yeah. Just full of wrinkles and gorgeous.
Absolutely. Well, you have a smiling face. You have a smiley face.
Yeah, like what's that? I remember in Coronation Street years ago, someone said, "These aren't wrinkles; they're laughter lines." And someone said, "Nothing's that funny."
Yeah, I think it was David Bowie to Mick Jagger.
Oh, was it? Oh, it wasn't Coronation Street.
Yeah, I think Coronation Street nicked it. I think actually that's what happened.
I see.
It can't have been the other way around. I don't think. But it's funny, isn't it? Because we were talking yesterday off the air, and I meant to slip the conversation on the air, but So we didn't have time, to be honest. We were talking about when people lie about their age.
Yes.
And, usually they say they're younger than they are. Now, if you think about that's such an idiotic thought. There's no logic to that whatsoever. Because if you say that you're younger than you are with words, right? Well, a face speaks 1,000 words. A picture says that speaks 1,000 words. If you lie about your age, say you're older, then you look younger.
That's right, but nobody does that.
Nobody does that.
No.
That's the clever play.
Wow, you look great. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm 104. You look about 70. I'm actually 50,
the thing is, I used to say when people would say, how old are you? I go 75.
Yeah.
And they go, what? And I go, no. And then now, of course, they go, oh really? Oh, they don't really. It's not such a stretch. It's like years ago when people would say, what play do you want to do? What's the next big role you want to do? And I thought, oh, what a boring question. And I have no idea. So I'd always say, oh, King Lear, because I thought it's so far away that I won't have to talk about it very well. But now it's not that. I could play King Lear right now, actually, I suppose. And I don't want to, by the way. But I just think that's really funny how the goalposts shift as you get older, those sorts of things.
And it's the same with plastic surgery, because I used to live in LA. I know you spent a lot of time there. When you first land there, I remember seeing Nancy Reagan sneak out of the... Not sneak, but I mean, she had to sneak everywhere because the Secret Service was there. So this is, way after her husband... He was no longer alive, but way after her husband was president, but she was still, the First Lady, because you're always Mr. President and First Lady or whatever. And so it was on Sunset Boulevard, just behind the Coffee Bean, and she'd been to see... there was a plastic surgeon there. She was coming out of the door of the plastic surgery.
Right. So let's see.
I presume she wasn't the receptionist.
Fair chance.
Yeah. And I lived there for the first few weeks. I thought, God, lots of people do have plastic surgery. Like the pool man had plastic surgery. You can tell because of the nips and the scars behind the ears and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But talk about boiling the frog. After living there for about a year, or being there for about a year, didn't live there for a year. I thought it became much more normal to me. And you do normalise it. And that's the whole thing about, if you do want to change your behaviour, they always say that the biggest external thing you can do to change your behaviour is change your environment, because it has such an effect on you.
Totally. And now it's not just like Hollywood that has it. I mean, everybody does it. They have you see it in the high street, Botox. And people have Botox parties where you go and have drinks and get shot up. The other day, I was doing an interview, and I have to say this thing that I'm going to be the last person ever on American television not to have had Botox. Like, everyone has it, and even the crew on films. And then I said that, and this young journalist sort of looked at me and went, gosh, Alan, I hope you take this the right way, but you look like you have had Botox. And I was like, thank you, I think.
Yeah.
Isn't that weird?
No, it is interesting. There was a newspaper photograph printed of me at a party from a few years ago, not a long time ago, about 5 or 6 years ago, and they were suggesting in the words, they didn't say it, but they suggested that I had Botox. I am the least Botox, but I do have a very smooth forehead.
Yeah.
I've always saunered. I try and look after myself a lot more now. I've always been hydrated. But it's so funny that was the whole point of the piece. Is like, okay, whatever,
Yeah,
it's fine. I don't mind. I thought it was funny.
Used it, yeah.
And again, I was flattered. I thought, don't need it. May have had it. Don't need it.
Do you know there's a funny thing about Sophia Loren that I always think when I think of her, because there's two things. She said this thing that whenever you sit down or get out of a seat, you must never do that. You go, you must never do that. You must to keep it inside, because that shows that that shows your age, right? And the other thing was that she said for years that she'd never had plastic surgery, and then she had a heart attack in our plastic surgeon's waiting room.
No, she all right? Did she?
Oh, this was a long time ago. She's still with us, but it was. But I just thought you can't get away with that. Do you know what I mean? You think I'd had a heart attack. Well, I just happened to be dropping by.
Yeah, it's like Zach Goldsmith, who ran for mayor, didn't he? And one of his big things was the 20-mile-per-hour speed limit, which he wanted to introduce. Yeah. And last year he got done for speeding 4 times in 1 year, twice in 20 miles an hour.
Oh, brutal.
I used to see him at pickup at nursery.
Yeah, speeding by. Alan, it's great. I love the sound of the show, man. I love the sound of the show.
It's really fun. I really like it. Yeah, and it's you laugh, you cry.
I also love you.
Oh, bless you.
I don't know you very well, but you're really interesting. You have something else going on. You speak from well below the neck, so from where people listen to where things come from within them. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
So if you're saying it from your very being, they hear it way deeper than their ears.
You connect with people more when you're authentic.
You feel it now, can't you?
Yes,
feel it here?
absolutely.
No, absolutely, 100%.
Yeah.
So you have had lots of success. I'm sure you're very grateful for all the success you've had. You've been very fortunate. Yes. You're very good at your job as well, and you've put in the heavy lifting and the hard yards and the long hours. In America, they really took to you in America, didn't they? Yes. And they still do. They love you in America. What do you think is the key? And not a sort of strategic key, because I know you're not like that. But what is it about Brits, be they Scottish, Irish, or English or Welsh, making it in America? What is it that the American audience take to in some Brits that they don't in others?
I think it's just that thing we were just talking about, the authenticity. That they are very Anglophile. They love they love the English sort of thing, especially, but they love sort of the old country, basically. And it's an interesting thing. They're such a new country that they always say, I'm an Irish American, I'm an Italian American. They always prefix the country where their sort of origins are from. Yes. So there's that. But also, I think, and they're a sucker for an accent, but I think it's also something that if you are different to them, then actually, if you are someone who's comfortable with your difference and embrace your difference and don't try to sort of become them, because I think a lot of people go to America and they kind of try and become in that sort of they change, they kind of smooth off the edges of who they are and try to do that sort of generic American sort of movie star thing.
Yeah, mid-Atlantic.
Yeah, the mid-Atlantic thing, which is so repulsive. It's just I can't. And when people the first thing people start to do is they start talking and blah blah blah, and the A sound starts to become and. Yeah. Like you're saying end of the line.
Or they double D the double T's.
What does that mean?
So from letter they go letter.
Oh, I hate that.
Or better.
Oh, I hate that. Or start saying the producer.
Yeah.
And the ooh sounds of the yes. Anyway, so that gives me the dry book, as we say in Scotland.
It's so funny you say all this, because when I was watching your TV show, which I know you're not really on to talk about, but I do want to talk about this brilliant program you have on telly, Alan Cumming's Paradise Homes. Starting on Monday the 12th of Feb. We got to see it yesterday. It's on HGTV, 8 p.m. and available to stream on Discovery Plus. It's really, really good. One of the things really, really good. It's really, really good. We loved it, didn't we, Max?
Absolutely.
We were talking about it before.
Fantastic.
Thanks, it's really, it's so good. It's so good. It's like the love child of Grand Designs, MTV Cribs, Architectural Digest, and there's one other which I've forgotten now, but it doesn't matter. Anyway, suffice to say, we loved it.
It's a good combo.
One of the things that really surprised me was your accent. because I'd just forgotten what you sound like.
Right, because yes, it's interesting doing more hosty things.
Yeah.
Because people get to, I mean, when you're on talk shows and things, people sort of forget because you're there promoting something, and usually, mostly, always, the thing I'm promoting doesn't sound like this.
Yes.
So they kind of, even though you're talking like this, promoting it, they sort of forget. And so it's actually interesting. I'm doing more things now, like that show, and I do the American Traitors, and so people are sort of, even I've lived in America for like 25 years, and people on the street go, I just realised you're Scottish. And you're like, well, where have you been? But it is so interesting.
You must have walked the whole length of the counter of American accents.
Yeah, I've done a few crazy ones.
Give us. Where have you been? No, you don't have to give us the accent. By the way, I'd love you to. But whereabouts geographically? Where have you been in roles?
Well, the sort of general, like when I was in The Good Wife for years, that was sort of, it was set in Chicago. But I just did my sort of generic American accent, and everyone's saying, "Oh, you do a great Chicago accent." I said, "Do I?" And then I did. I've done a lot of southerny things, and sort of more, New Yorky. But the craziest one I did is I did a film years ago in Minnesota, in rural Minnesota, and I played a 1920s Minnesotan farmer with Alex Kingston, lovely Alex Kingston.
I don't, to be honest.
Oh, she was my wife, and we had like 10 children. And I had to do this Minnesotan accent. It was insane.
So what's it like? How's it differ?
It was, sort of talk like this. Oh, I've got to...
It's nearly Canadian then.
Yes, and I just did it. I just did a film in Canada this year.
What about
last year. What?
What about
Yes, what about...
Hey?
What are you talking about? It's all like that, that weird O sound. And it was in rural kind of New Brunswick it was from. So it's kind of just north of Minnesota, actually. So that was hilarious. And it was me and this other, this English actor called Charlie Creed Miles. We were brothers in it. And the pair of us were like accents up the wazoo. It was hilarious. Really hilarious.
You've got to get it right.
You've got. And we had little tapes,
and coaches, accent coaches.
I had an accent coach. And
oh, wow.
So, I mean, the good thing about when you do a film, that when you start filming, usually it doesn't change. The script's not going to change. So you can really practice and get the signs for that thing. So it wasn't, but you're chatting away, then you kind of, and then they say when you go to do the looping months later, they go, this scene we kind of feel you've dropped the accent a bit, and you go, really? And then you hear it and think, oh my God, I sound like I'm on a bus in Glasgow. It was terrible.
So funny. So Matthew McConaughey, when he was on the show last year or year before, I can't remember, talking about Greenlight's his book, which is awesome.
Yes.
You read that book?
No, but I've heard very, very good things about it. Yeah.
Book. And he was saying that for accents, not all you have to do. He said, but one of the key things to do for him with accents is imagine where you are. And I said, what does that mean? He said, well, what it means is, if you're in Texas, it's hot and it's sweaty, so you're probably going to be relaxed and you're going to be dry-throated.
Oh, my God, that's a really good idea.
I like that.
Yeah, I never thought about it, that sort of environmental accent approach.
Of course, because it must have some effect on you, mustn't it?
Yeah. I mean, lots of accents are that way for a reason.
Yeah.
Of all those things. That's really interesting.
How did it happen? I wonder how it happened.
Well, the Minnesota one happened because it's so many Scandinavian people went to live there.
Right.
And that's the Scandinavian influence that makes them sound so nuts.
Yeah.
And actually that film I did was called Sweetland, and it's about they used to have mail order brides come over from Scandinavia to marry all the farmers. And that's what this film was about.
No way.
Yeah, man, because this bride came, but actually it was just after the First World War, and so she'd been German, and she'd kind of escaped and gone to Scandinavia. So when she came over, she was actually German. Of course, they were all freaking out about the Germans after the First World War.
So has this film been out?
Yeah, years ago. It's called Sweetland. It's a beautiful film.
Oh, my
Directed
goodness.
by my friend Ali Salim.
Have you seen Saltburn? We just ask everybody this question.
I have, yes.
Have you seen it once or twice or three times?
Just the once.
We're going to watch it again this weekend.
Everybody
is still talking about Saltburn.
It's a lot to take in.
Is it a 10?
No, it's not a 10 for me.
What do you think it is?
It was a healthy 7.5.
7.5. You're not really allowed to 7, just so you know.
Oh, you're not?
Not on this show.
Oh, well, I'll give it an 8.
Okay.
But I didn't... you know what? I thought it was incredibly entertaining.
Right.
Don't get me wrong, I loved it.
Yeah.
But I came away from it it's sort of aristocracy porn.
Right.
In the way that I think Downton Abbey and that sort of stuff is sort of aristocracy porn, and I feel uneasy about it. And the one thing I really didn't like about it was that the overall message is that these poor old rich people being taken to the cleaners by a working class horrible person.
Right.
That didn't sit well with me. That
no,
sort
it's
of
funny that
message.
you read. Well, he wasn't working class; he was middle class, wasn't he? In the end.
Well, yes, that's true.
Yeah.
But someone who wasn't of their tribe.
Yeah.
And I just think I'm kind of done with things about aristocrats being sort of pooped on.
I think I liked it a lot. I think I like.
I really thought it was great and entertaining. I loved it though. Don't get me
I thought it
wrong,
was
but
quite
that's
punk as well in its own way. Whereas because it didn't care.
No, I
it was fearless actually because it did care, but it was just fearless.
Yeah, and it's dared to do crazy things like slurping up the bathwater and shagging.
And other things that we can't really talk about on Breakfast Radio.
You noticed I just said the bathwater, yeah.
Jane, relax, take a breath, it's going to be fine. She only got her UK citizenship this week, so she's quite worried. You're not on parole, you're in, Jane, you're in. It's all right, it's going to be fine. So listen, you have your theatre show. We're talking about Alan Cumming, which is his favourite subject, I would imagine, or my favourite subject about him. Alan Cumming is not acting his age. It's a theatre show. We're not finishing the chat. I'm just mentioning it again now in case you've just tuned in. Alan Cumming is not acting his age. It's a theatre show. It continues Monday, 15th of Jan at London's Theatre Royal, Drury Lane.
And the 16th.
And the 16th. And there's a couple of other dates as well.
Then I do Manchester on Thursday and Glasgow Armadillo on next Saturday.
Okay, I'm glad you said that. These are no small things. I know you've done it. You've written it. It's amazing. You sing. You tell stories. It's brilliant. It's very positive. It's lovely. And it's exactly what the world needs. It's one of the things that the world needs. I'm not going to say it at the moment because people say that all the time. Oh, it's what the world needs now at the moment. No, the world needs this stuff all the time and always has done. But you're busy, man. And so...
Yes.
This is no small undertaking, and I can't imagine the phone has stopped ringing, or will stop ringing anytime soon to Alan Cumming's agent. Why would you do such a thing like this? Because it is a big deal, isn't it?
Yes, and like I not many people I know do stuff. I mean, I don't know. I've always sort of made a lot of my own work.
Yes.
And I think even from when I was at drama school, my friend Forbes Masson and I did a double act called Victor and Barry. And
What's his name again?
Forbes Masson.
Masson.
It's a great Scottish name.
Name.
He's a great actor and a brilliant writer. And we did this sitcom in the 90s called The High Life about flight attendants. And that was kind of a version of this double act we'd done before at sort of a skit at drama school, and then it became this big, huge thing. And so that's an example that I've always kind of written and done a lot of work. And the sort of way of performance of like being a live performance where you're connecting with an audience, but you're talking about yourself. You're not a character.
Yes.
It's something that I've kind of got more comfortable with as I've got older, because you sort of dare to be. I sing in my own voice as well. I sing with my Scottish accent. And I've kind of just, over the last 10, 15 years, got much better at being comfortable with my authentic self.
Yeah.
And I think that's what I really enjoy about that. And it's great to have a connection in that way and to, have a theatre fix without having to do 8 shows a week.
Yeah, I get it.
And it's and I can do it in little spurts here and there. And it's also fun. Musicians are great. And I love working with a band. And I sort of, I sort of wanted to be a dancer. And last year I did a dance piece at age 57. Oh, and the year before that, I suppose. And I've always kind of secretly felt like I wanted to be a musician. And I'm not really, but I get to sing with a band and, do things like, can we take it from bar 18? All that stuff.
And if there's a band behind you, you're sitting on the shoulders of magic, aren't you?
Oh, I love musicians. The way that they can just kind of, we as actors take weeks to be able to just say some words.
Yep.
They, in an hour, can be at literally concert pitch. It's so impressive.
So how busy are you otherwise?
It's very nuts. It's funny. I've just got back the other day from India. I took a trip on my own to India and just had this really incredible experience. I realise that's what I do. I do get away, absolute get away. I love travelling, and I love travelling on my own actually, because so much of my life is always just
better.
Everyone's around you, and and so then I come back and it's hardcore. Morning till night, and I go back. I do this tour, and then I go back to America on the 22nd. Immediately go and do someone else, and then now, of course, because the actor strike's finished and sort of productions are starting up again. So there's it's a bit nuts right now. But and also I've got better as well about saying I'm taking this time off. I'm taking this month off. I'm going to do that.
I mean, you're clearly very happy. I can tell that.
Yes.
And you're very content, and you still have a mission and a purpose on a daily basis, and it's brilliant. So well done, congratulations.
Thanks, Chris. Thank you.
Has your career, even though you are extremely happy, has it gone how you thought it would?
No, not at all. I mean, I guess like when I was a wee actor, when I was at drama school and things like that, like the idea of America. Like I live in America. I'm, you know, and it says I see on the things it goes Hollywood star Alan Cumming. I think what? But it's kind of true, and I.
No, it is true.
I know.
Take the kind of out.
Yes.
It's true, Alan.
And that to me is cool. So I never America. The idea. I never even visited America until I was 30.
Yeah.
And I thought when I was, you know, out of drama school, I thought, oh, maybe one day I'll move to London and be an actor in London. That was like what I thought might happen. And then all of a sudden, and I did do that, but all of a sudden it just happened, and I'm in.
How did it just happen? Remind me.
Of America.
Yeah.
Well, what happened was I started to do films here, and then I did this film in Ireland actually called Circle of Friends, with Minnie Driver and Chris O'Donnell and Colin Firth and people, and then that was really popular in America, and that was the first time I'd ever been in a film in America, and so I went to do press for that, and then I started to get offered, and then I did some other, I did the James Bond film. I did a lot of films all in a lump, and so I kind of was an onslaught of me in America, and so then I started to get offered. So I went. I mean, I'm kind of annoying because the first thing I did in America was to play the lead in a Hollywood film in Romeo and Michelle's high school reunion, and then I went, and then Cabaret that I'd done in London at the Donmar, then it transferred to Broadway. So the first job I had in New York was starring in a Broadway musical. So that whole sort of double whammy is what happened.
And you're a bit naughty as well. So you're interesting, because you only have to be a bit naughty to be really interesting. And
right.
If you're very naughty, you can be very interesting, but you can be too naughty for your own good.
Right. Yes, that's
so
true.
There's a bit of a game to be played there.
I used to say I was the acceptable face of deviance in America, yes. Because I could, you know,
get away with it. Look at that
yes.
smile.
And also, like, you know, years ago,
yeah.
I used to, you know, there was very few, like in the early 2000s, there were very few kind of out sort of famous people in America, and I would go on, you know, the Tonight Show and talk about things, but also talk about you know, gay rights and marriage equality and things like that. So I had that access to people, because I wasn't scary. I could say things that I wanted to say, but I wouldn't scare people. I wasn't like a scary sort of, you know. And
you had something to say, and you bothered to say it.
Yeah, it was important to me to say it. I mean, I've always people sort of think, I think, when you're famous and you sort of have you have a platform, but you have a cause, that in some way this is something you've just done because you're famous. It's sort of like one of the accoutrements of, you know, you have a stylist.
Well, sometimes it is, of course.
Sometimes it is. Yeah. But for me, I've always felt like, you know, I always say this thing, when I was at drama school, I was collecting for the miners. Remember the miners were on strike and Thatcher was, of course. And I was on Byers Road and outside the tube station collecting things, and a lady spat on me. And that was and I was a drama student, just, you know, volunteering at the weekend. And that to me was a really big sort of moment in terms of, like, that was my activism, I suppose, was gelled there, because I thought, what the hell? I'm just trying to help people who are not.
Why are you so annoyed at me trying to do something that I think is probably nice? Yes. A nice thing to do. What's the anger there?
What's your problem? Yes, I know, and that's the thing I actually find really. With anything that I have a sort of beef about, I actually think, why are you so angry about this? Why don't you? And it's mostly like, what is the problem you have with other people having rights, or
it's all projection, isn't it?
Yeah, or just having comfort and just being happy. What is the problem with that? How does that, you know, the cake thing, me getting rights, it doesn't mean that you get any less cake.
Yeah. No, 100%, Al. 100%.
People are stupid.
The TV show that we're not really talking about, which is out in February, which is fantastic. It's Alan Cumming's Paradise Homes. Just quickly, we've talked way over, but I love talking to you. I'm making the most of you here. I've got something else to tell you in a minute before we go off the air, which is all good, by the way.
Oh, good.
I think it's good anyway. I don't know. But this show, where did this show come from? Alan Cumming's Paradise Homes.
They just asked me, and it was so funny. I sort of, initially it was supposed to be about islands, right? And people who built homes on islands, and then they realised they couldn't get enough islands, and so I was like, oh, really? And so but it's all people who have built their dream homes, right? And I go and meet them, and of course it's so lovely because they want to show off their homes. I wouldn't let people into my film crew into my house, but they love it. And I talk to the architects, and I do actually have a real interest in architecture, and
you can tell the way you talk about it.
And then I sort of, you know, but then I go and sort of look through their cupboards and things like that, and that was the fun part to me. I just basically go to people's homes.
You're an intellectual nosy Parker. It's what you
really,
are.
I really am, and I just love I love just being just chatting. I love chatting, and I love kind of being a bit cheeky with people and seeing how they deal with it. And it's great when you do a show like that when there's always a camera on you, so just a little look or a little eyebrow.
Right. You're really
volumes.
good at it.
Oh, thanks so much.
No,
I'm really glad you liked it.
Well, there's this new thing about super TV because I think we live in an age of. There was the golden age of TV. This is the platinum age. This is the saffron age of TV. It's amazing, and what they've done, the Netflixes and the Apple TV Pluses and the Paramount Pluses and the HGTV Pluses of the world, is they've asked amazing actors to play the role of being a super TV presenter. So you're not a TV presenter, you're an actor playing a TV presenter really well. And it's like, good luck everybody out there who thought this is, how you do it is how you do it. No, Alan Cumming does it is how you do it.
Do you know that's it's interesting because the Traitors, the thing that is out, the Claudia does it, and I do the American version. I host it, but I actually play I feel like I'm acting. I play a character in it.
Yeah.
And so it's even more heightened than the Paradise Homes one. I sort of welcome to my castle. It's not my castle. I don't live in a castle.
See, just you doing that. It's like, yes, give him the job. Lock the doors. Don't let him leave the building. Yeah, put his agent in a box because he can basically name his price on this one. Oh my gosh!
But I love that show. It's so hilarious and compulsive, and I'm actually going to watch the Claudia version because I've just got back.
Have you
from
seen
India.
the billboards for it?
No. Oh yes, with the big hoods.
She looks great,
yes,
doesn't she?
I know. Yeah, it's so camp. What I think is hilarious is such a camp show. Like people going around in cloaks and things, and you're banished and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And what is hilarious though is that the American version, I think, is the only time an American version of a show is camper and more theatrical than the British version.
Love it.
I think that's me.
Yeah, I think you may have something to do with
because of my capes.
I got to tell you, I mean, I know that Claudia, she's such a family woman, and she seems to work a lot, but believe me, I know she really protects her family time. You'll see her on telly, but she will be as efficient and as professional, but as efficient with her time and as economical with her time and her energy as she possibly can be, whilst delivering 100% of what she needs to, because she loves her family so much. If she didn't, she'd be on American television. America would love Claudia Winkleman because she is the real deal. She's so clever. She's so funny. She's so British.
And really, yes, absolutely, and also really authentic and sort of compassionate. You can tell she's very. There's such a kindness.
She's the funniest woman I've ever met.
Yeah,
and to be that funny, you have to be very, very clever. She's also the cleverest woman I've ever met. I think one of the cleverest.
And also
people.
really self-knowing, and I love how she talks about herself and all that stuff.
She takes everything seriously but herself.
Yeah.
Which is exactly you don't take things that you should take seriously, but never take yourself seriously, because also you're worse when you're taking yourself, because you become sclerotic, you become full of stasis.
That's such a good word. I love it. That's two good words.
There's no flow. You lose all your flow, don't you?
Yes.
When you become
you
angry
block
or whatever.
You block your flow.
Before you go,
Alan, what's the thing?
No, it's not a big thing. It's like this is. I always think whenever I see you, we watched James Bond over the Christmas, and you were in it, obviously brilliant, by the way.
Thank you.
But I always think the same thing when I hear your name, see you on anything. I always think this, and it'll mean nothing to you.
Oh,
we're going nowhere with this, by the way. There's nothing to see or hear here. I went to a theatrical production of something, and I can't remember where, and I can't remember when, and I can't remember who, and I can't remember what. Good story,
a great story, yeah.
How bad is this story?
You might want to try this out of town.
But the only reason I was going is because you were starring in it, right? In the West End. And as I arrived at the theatre, there was a temporary note stuck on the door, the front door of the theatre, and it said, due to the indisposition of Mr. Cummings, the role of blah, blah, blah will be played by blah, blah, blah. And I've heard of this thing, so-and-so is indisposed.
Yes.
And in the theatre, well, that can mean many things, can't it?
Exactly, yes.
And I just think, it's that notice. I thought this was like something that I didn't realise they did put these notices up, and they did use the word indisposed.
Alan Cumming was indisposed. That should be my next show.
And I've always wanted to know.
I wonder what that was. I wonder when that was. A long time ago.
I'm not fishing. I'm just thinking, I hope it was what I think it was. Could it have been that? Might it have been that?
There's a strong chance. But of course, as I'm a professional. Yes.
I wonder what show it was. I can't remember.
I must
try. You were the star of it. I still went to it, and I still think it was brilliant. I thought, God, it's good with whoever it was that filled in for you. But how good would it be without them? Anyway, that's my story.
That's hilarious.
It's funny.
I really like that. Alan Cumming is indisposed.
Yeah.
It's be a good.
Or maybe the next theatre show, unfortunately, Alan Cumming is not indisposed. And he'll be on every night this week. Or something like that. Coming of Age, you must have thought of that.
That one, yes. Coming to America.
Yeah, coming to America.
Coming all over, yes.
You are the best, Al.
Thank you so much. This is lovely to talk to you.
It's great to see you, man. Alan Cumming is Not Acting His Age continues next Monday, the 15th of Jan. Also Tuesday
at the Theatre Royal, Julian, and Monday, and then Manchester, and then Glasgow.
All right, tickets available via aegpresents.co.uk. Thank you, Alan.
Thank you.